Hello, creative beings of the universe. Welcome to Capitalize on Your Creativity, an online symposium where we explore with our brilliant experts, thought leaders, and coaches how to clear the fear, capture your genius, and how to use that genius to create your signature work. Hi, I'm your host, James Greenberg, Chief Originologist and founder of a brand new way where we turn originality into business. Today, my wonderful tribe, we are welcoming the extraordinary luminary, Mary O Malley. Mary, thank you for being here today.
Glad to be here.
I'm going to share with them a few of your highlights.
Okay.
Mary has dedicated her life to helping others heal by seeing the conditioning they took on that blocks them from life's joy. Through her individual counseling and coaching, online courses, books, classes, retreats, radio show, blog, and ongoing groups, Mary invites people to experience the miracle of awakening. She is committed to helping people heal their inner wars so that they can become part of the healing of our planet. Neil Donald Walsh, author of Conversations with God, says, I consider Mary O Malley to be one of the most extraordinary teachers of our time. Tribe, we have an extraordinary human being with us today. So Mary, I'm going to ask you this. Can you share with us the awakening you've had that changed your whole relationship with the challenges in your life, and then how you went on to create your signature work that now serves people all around the world?
Boy, in 25 words or less, I think that the Reader's Digest version is that I knew the kind of darkness that you don't usually survive. You know, I tried to kill myself 3 times. I just once gained 97 pounds in a year, and I was washing it all down with alcohol and taking every drug that I could get my hands on. And then when I was 27 or 28, I met a teacher who taught me something so different than anything that I had ever known before. Everything I had tried was all about fixing myself, that I need to be better or different than what I am. And what he shared with me is in the seeing is the movement, that we're all caught in this bubble of struggle inside of us that has this secret belief at its core that we're not okay as we are. We need to be better or different than what we are. And he taught me that to just see this struggle rather than try to endlessly fix it or make yourself better or different. In the seeing is the movement. I knew so much fear. But when I learned how to say, oh, fear is here, rather than I am afraid, I began to come out of this very contracted, dark place I had lived in for 3 decades.
Wow.
And until I met a man called Stephen Levine about 10 years later, who has written many books on death and dying, but really wrote about how to be fully alive. He showed me how to come back to my heart. When we're lost in struggle, our hearts are closed. And it is our hearts that are connected to life. It is our hearts that know that we are absolutely okay as we are. It is our hearts that know that we can trust life. We can show up for it rather than always trying to make it be what we think it should be. And slowly and surely, people began to become interested in what I was sharing. And I started writing books and we did all sorts of things to get this message out that each person is a totally unique creation of life. Each person is needed. They've been brought forth out of mystery because life needed them to be here.
Yes.
And person is like they have clouds around their head. I've worked with people for over 30 years, and I've been able to see into the minds and hearts of tens of thousands of people. And we all have this belief that we need to be better or different in order to be okay. I finally saw that, unhooked from it, And then I was free to join the creative flow of life.
And then you were able to serve fully. If
Yes.
you went through this little bit of a cleansing and awakening, and were able to position yourself to be of service.
And that is why we're here. And
Yes,
so
yes.
much when you're lost in the clouds, it's all about getting. I want to get a better mate, or I want to get a better body, or I want to get more money or a fancier car. And the heartache of that, if you go with that till the end of your life, you think on your deathbed, what was it all about? When you really discover the true joy is in giving, it's in serving. In fact, one of my favorite questions of life is, how can I serve? I've asked that for decades. And I am feeling life that I am not as smart as life is, that life knows better what it is that I've been brought forth for, and this wonderful sense of the joy of serving.
So you have, I love the bubble of struggle, and I love, I'm not as smart as life is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one of the things that we're, capitalize on your creativity is not only about money. I mean, how does one capitalize on their awakening?
Yes.
Many have awakenings, but they get lazy when it comes to using it to leverage their growth. So how do we use our awakening as a springboard into real, tangible growth? Can you riff on that a little?
Well, I would say, first of all, what is awakening?
Yes.
Just imagine that when you were young, you were just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And there was no need, there was no thoughts in your head. Isn't that unbelievable? There was a time there was no thoughts in your head. And slowly and surely your head filled up with thoughts. And if you had a little door on your forehead, you could watch. Those thoughts are all about struggling with life. Most of them are little ones, like you don't like the length of the stoplight or how your hair looks today. But still, that cuts you off from life. When you begin to see that most of what you think you are is conditioning that you took on when you were young. It's stories that happen in your head all day long, that most of the time you spend your time listening to the stories. You think the stories are you. You are not these stories. You are that which can see them. Oh, fear is here, rather than I am afraid. You can learn how to unhook from your stories enough, the stories of fear and judgment and despair and loneliness and wanting and resisting and fearing. You can learn how to unhook from them enough so that you can use your mind, because it's an exquisite tool,
Yes,
rather than being lost in it. How do you do that? I oftentimes begin with people, that they're drawn to this, but they don't quite know what it's all about. And I say, okay, well, just close your eyes for a few moments here, okay? And just notice the sounds around you. And we'll do this for a minute.
okay.
And most people, they can't do it. They listen to a sound. Maybe it was of a car going by, and all of a sudden their mind says, oh my God, I had an oil change appointment yesterday and I forgot. What can I do? Can I call my husband and can he all this stuff. It's so important to just give yourself those moments where your intention is, whether it's through your breath or sensations or sounds or feeling, that you notice there's a difference between being here for life the moment it appears out of ministry, and being lost in your ideas about life. Most people, when they begin to get that, is, oh my God, I'm not here for my life. I am experiencing it through my ideas about it. And we can get to our deathbed and say, oh my God, what was that all about? Once you begin to see there's a difference between your stories about life, not making the mind bad, it's wonderful. Right. It's an exquisite creation, right. But it's a horrible master. It's a tool, not a master. Then they begin to get this longing to sit quietly every day. maybe 5 minutes at the beginning where you choose some focus that is life, the rising and the falling of your breath, the sounds around you, the sensations in your body. And your whole intention is to experience that, but not get upset when your attention goes back up into their stories. You've only been lost in stories for most of your life, and you just say stories, and then you bring your attention back to life. Even if you can only stay here for 2 seconds, maybe even 1 second, every time you do this, when you wander off and come back, you strengthen the muscle of your attention. And it is that attention that can see when the story I'm not enough comes, or the story I am afraid comes. And rather than following it down the garden path, you recognize it, and then you come back here to life.
All right. So this is great. This is great. So you teach people how to unhook from the struggle and the fear. Exactly. And you say it's one of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves. Now, I don't know if what you were talking about was an exercise, but I was going to ask you if you were going to help someone see their fears and engage with their struggles. Is this how you open your heart to every single part of you?
That comes after a bit.
Okay.
It is amazing, Jamie, how closed our hearts are to ourselves.
Yes.
Oh, sometimes they open when they see a new baby or a puppy, or the day has been what you want, or you just fell in love. But most of the time, our hearts have an arm ring around them. When you begin to do something like give yourself a few minutes every day, and what I need to say here is that for 10 years, I was a part-time meditator because, oh, darn it, I couldn't get my thoughts to do what I wanted them to do. I couldn't get rid of them. And then Levine said to me, if you sit for 1 hour and bring your attention back to your focus, breath, sounds, sensations, one time in that hour, that is time well spent. And all of a sudden, my morning quiet time wasn't a contest to try to get my mind quiet. It was more a closing my eyes, allow a couple of long, slow out breaths, and just begin to notice what is here. And if my mind is very upset, I give it space, I acknowledge it, and slowly and surely it calms down. And there is life. The more you do that, the more you can begin to step back. Mm-hmm. Watch the storyteller in your head, and you can see how young it is. If you doubt that, just think of the last big argument you had with somebody. Right. You can see. But it's young. It was created in your mind when you were a child. And that's when your heart begins to open. You begin to bring compassion to this struggling storyteller in your head. The more you do, the more the arm ring around your heart softens, the more the heart opens. And you begin to live from your heart rather than from your mind.
And this is part of the awakening and the setting of this new state of mind.
Yeah.
Right. So when we're in this state of mind, what is the next step? I'm always curious to know that once you start to engage with your fear, not becoming a part of it, when you're looking in this other place, you're at the pinnacle of a new perspective.
Exactly.
So how do you move into that new place?
Well, I think that it's in all of my books, I've talked about the body and I've talked about breath. We are like top-heavy trees.
Yeah.
Up here. And the winds of life blow and down we go.
Yeah.
The more you ground here, and believe you me, when I first started meditating, I couldn't even close my eyes. It was just too intimate. I had gone so far away from myself, but now, it hasn't been for decades. But just to know that we're very afraid of coming here, of grounding in our bodies, of opening our breath again. But as you discover that, as you learn how to see what's afraid of being here, of what it's afraid of inside of you, you begin to discover this wellspring of creativity inside of you.
Yes.
You know at any given moment how to respond to life. When you're up in your head, you react to life, and oh my God, how many reactions, cause so much heartache in our lives. But as you ground, as you begin to unhook, you can see through all the struggles in your mind, you begin to discover that you're not alone, that there's an intelligence within you. My agent once asked me, do you ever get writer's block? And I said, no. And she said, you're the only writer I've ever worked with that doesn't get writer's block. And I said, because I know I'm not the one that's writing the books. That whatever that is that breathes me, that beats my heart, that heals the cuts on my skin, that keeps the planet spinning as they do, the more you unhook from this world, this top-heavy world, by seeing it and seeing it with great compassion, how much it struggles, the more this wisdom self makes itself known. And it is just, I still write a lot. And I'm just so grateful. I feel I don't have to figure out what to write.
Yes.
I just calm myself down, close my eyes, calm myself down, and I say, life, what do you want to say? And it just comes pouring out.
No.
And each one of us has a wellspring of creativity. Each one of us is a unique expression of life.
Yes.
And you've been brought forth because you have something to share with life that nobody else does. And we have a tendency to compare ourselves, I'm not as good as that. Oh my God, I won't be able to do. And that's up here. But you come down here and you begin to feel, you resonate with what life wants to express through you.
So beautiful, so beautiful. I just hope everybody is listening to that, because it is one of the main obstacles.
Yes.
When people are trying to find themselves or they're stuck or they're stagnant, it's just a disconnection from opening up and receiving.
Yeah.
And what you said there, that little pocket of time when you're traversing, moving out or engaging with your fear like that, you can then begin to open up to that beautiful spring of wisdom.
And Stephen Levine is my main mentor, and somebody asked him, how long does this take? And he laughed and said, it's the work of a lifetime. Yes. And what I would say, it really is the way out of the game of struggle. It isn't struggling with struggle. It's learning how to see how you've been trained to struggle with life and learn how to relate to it rather than from it. Now, there was a time in my awakening, because awakening is coming back to life, being an intimate, alive part of the creative flow of life.
Yes.
There was a time when I had glimpses of this, and I was learning how to relate to all the stories in my head. But then the stories would seize back up again, and then I would get lost and wander around, and then I would judge myself, oh my God, you saw this, and now you can't get to it, and so on and so forth. That was because I hadn't yet strengthened enough the muscle of my attention.
Strengthen the muscle of your attention. Okay.
Yeah. It's like what we talked about earlier, when you sit every morning and you hold the intention to notice the sounds or notice your breath or notice the sensations in your body, and then you wander off. Whenever you bring your attention back, you have strengthened that muscle. Mm-hmm. That is the kind of attention that can allow you to say, oh, that's just fear talking. I don't need to follow that. But there is this in-between time from being lost in the world of struggle, beginning to see that there's something else happening here, and feeling the spaciousness of it, the resonance of it, the creativity of it, and then having the mind take back over again. That's why I've done so many radio shows and blogs and books and all of that, is so that people have reminders
Yes.
of how to get out of this world of struggle, so that more quickly they can allow some long, slow out breaths, and they can begin to be engaged with life again, rather than always trying to manage it.
Oh, wow. I have so many other questions now. I'm just going to go with this one because, when we're at that precipice of creation,
yeah,
the attention that we put our thought on, that is what is likened to itself is drawn. Is this how we begin to create the reality that we want for ourselves? By putting that focused attention on a thought, on a vision, instead of just creating by default. Isn't this the way to use the mind in conjunction with the universe?
So this is a very important question. And it's a journey. It's a journey from creating your reality to showing up for reality.
Wow, okay.
In between place that you begin to not live in goals. I got to do this to get to someplace. You live in intentions that of what is calling to you.
Okay.
But my experience, more and more, you become less and less interested in creating anything, because you see that life is smarter than you. That you begin to relax into the flow.
Okay.
And life creates through you. And of course, the mind is now like the scribe. The mind is the tool for putting that out into the world, but the mind isn't what creates it. Does that make sense?
Yes. In fact, we teach here an intentional creative process. We call it gorgeous chaos.
Yes.
Because people don't give themselves that permission.
Yes.
To be in that space, that time of where they're not concerned with the how, but they're just in a place where they can be open to receive and capture their beginning, middles, and ends without trying to find the logic in it.
Yeah.
So that they're not always in that critical state of mind. And what comes out is so surprising to them that they actually get a sense of where their God spot is, and they can really start to receive things that it's really surprised them.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty.
If you had told me 30 or 40 years ago that I would be doing this, I would have laughed hysterically. I just didn't have a clue. People say, well, when I was a teenager, I knew what I wanted to. I didn't have a clue. But life showed me how to see and love the struggling self, which puts a veil between us and our creativity.
Right. Okay, that was wonderful.
Began to happen. I think the other point that is really, really important here is that we have lived inside of our heads for so long that we are afraid of opening to life.
Yes.
Because the last time that we fully were engaged with life flowed through us, as us. We got the living bejesus scared out of us. Most of us were raised by what I call unconscious giants. They're called parents. They may have loved us. A lot of parents don't. But they wounded us in ways that they weren't even aware that they were wounding us. And so we learn how to hold our breath. There's a study done once of children and breathing practices. They were all breathing their natural breath, like dogs and cats do, their whole trunk, before they went to preschool. Not one of them was breathing their natural breath by the time they went to first grade.
Wow.
We've learned how to hold on. We've learned how to live in our ideas about life, which cuts us off from life. And, we begin to relax into life, and there to meet us is this fear. Don't you remember the last time that we were fully here? It was scary. But
so Mary, why does the universe, is it designed so those formative years when we're sponges to the unconscious giants, why do we have to spend all that time absorbing all this stuff and then having to discover it, to engage with what we've already absorbed and have to reinvent ourselves in life? Is it the same thing of like, now we're living with Trump and he's opening up for this whole different thing? There must be some kind of design.
You're getting close to it.
There must be some kind of design for this. I have this conversation with my wife all the time. It's like, why? Yeah.
But the only thing that makes sense to me, because if I was God, and I'm not, I'm a part of God, but I would have set it up completely differently. Why do we have to take on what we're not? And then more and more of us now are discovering who we really are. And the only way that I can describe it is that we live in a dualistic world. There's day, there's night, there's hot, there's cold, there's male, there's female. If there was no such thing as night, you wouldn't recognize day. That it's recognized in relationship to it. So that's the only thing I can figure out, that we all have to take on what we're not, this struggle, in order to see who we truly are. And even though I still kind of, really?
I know.
I figure the most important thing is to not try to second guess it and show up for what life is offering you. Our challenges, so often, what we do is we think our challenges, whether they're health or relationship or finance or work-wise, we think they are here because either God fell asleep on the job. It's karma. It's karma. We're being punished by something. But look at the yin and yang symbol. Dark and light nestled together. In my experience, and I had so many challenges in the first 30 years of my life. That's why I tried to kill myself so many times. But it is the challenges. This is what has come to me. And it just, has allowed me to the fullest me that I can, is that my challenges are here to show me how I struggle with life. And more, the challenges come, and I see my mind struggling, and very quickly I unhook from it. I show up for the challenge, and there's always a gift embedded in the challenge.
Shouldn't we be teaching this stuff in kindergarten?
I wish. Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if this was, people started to understand all of these spiritual laws and understand how to do this stuff?
Yeah.
I think that's what the awakening, that's part of this awakening.
And the more of us as adults begin to do this courageous thing, because most people go to their deathbeds caught in the bubble of struggle, and they're so happy when they can get the struggles to be what they want them to be, but it never lasts because everything changes. But I feel, sometimes, when I was in the middle of learning how to meet some form of my struggle, and my mind was going, oh, I just want to go eat the whole bar of chocolate, I would say, but let's meet this to all the children that are coming after us. Yes. And then all of a sudden, I was willing to be courageous, which means big heart, to be curious about, what is my mind upset about right now? What doesn't it want to experience? And both of my children for 4 years were dealing with life-threatening illnesses at the same time.
Wow.
It was one of the richest times in my life because my mind would get so afraid, and my mind would get so despairing, and my mind at times would get judgmental. I mean, it wouldn't say, what did you do to cause the cancer? I mean, that's what the mind can be like. But that time where the mind was having meltdown after meltdown, and I realized that when I was in my mind, I was not present for my children. And that was the time I would just got to know so well how my mind fears and how it judges and how it feels despair. And slowly and surely, I unhooked from all.
This is great. This is great. You know, there was a time in your life when you knew you were going to be a mindful spiritual healer teacher. When did you have the revelation that this was going to be your signature, your work? I know we touched upon this a little bit in the beginning, but I just wanted to give the audience an example and to have faith that their purpose can be realized at any moment, any time. It's right around the corner. It's like you also talk about like the control and connection. Once you get that connection going, then you're going to be moving quicker, you know, into the purpose and starting have that revelation of what's going to be your signature work. You know, we work to get people into that, into their work, into their program, into their product, you know, from which they can serve and just fuel their passion, you know. Yes.
And everybody knows it. They just have covered it up.
Yes.
You know, and so when I was fasting, this was in my early 20s, I was fasting with a doctor down in California, and there was a woman that came to teach a class. I was enamored by her. I can't even remember what she taught, but I was just so touched by her expressiveness and all that. That didn't really register on me. It just touched me. So for 10 years, people asked me to teach, and I said, absolutely not. It terrified me. My God, people ask me a question. I won't know what to say. Stupid and dumb. And then a friend of mine said, I'll tell you what, I'm teaching a class at a local college. And it's for 3 nights, and I want you to come and just sit beside me. You don't have to, you know, be in charge of the class or anything. Just add your 2 cents worth. And it was fun that night. And then I went to pick him up for the second night. He was sick.
And you were there all alone.
And then I had to lead the class, and I discovered I didn't die.
Wow.
I discovered it, and then that was my edge for a while. Then life asked me to speak and I've never did, you know, Toastmasters or debate club or anything. And at 7:30 on a Sunday morning, a minister of a local church called me and said, I have laryngitis. You know, and I said, yes. And I got in the shower and I said, so what I did was I went to talk to the church. I talked about the process of saying yes. It was, people talked to me about that talk for years.
Oh, wow.
Because it was real. I let go. Now, it took me a number of years to get back to that place of let go, because the mind said, oh my God, now I have to speak in front of people. And a lot of people asked me to speak. And the mind was going, oh my God, you know, I won't do this right. And, you know, I got to take all these notes, but, you know, I won't be able to find the place in the notes I'm supposed to be, you know, all this stuff. Slowly and surely, I was able to be with the fear. And then...
You were able to what? Say that again?
Be with the fear.
Be with the fear. Okay.
Of just being authentically myself.
So even when you were speaking, feeling trepidatious, you were with it, moving with it, knowing that was there, that it was part of the process, that you had to be with it to move past it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah, and it took a while, because I would oftentimes just do a little bit of a freezing when I was first talking after that first talk. But then I learned how to, in my imagination, be with the fear. Okay, I'm going to be speaking, you know, on Saturday night, you know, and I could be with the fear in my imagination. It made it so much easier to go, because I had this sense of, no, just be here and be myself. Now when I go and speak, I love it, you know, and I hardly even plan anything, you know, because I know life will just pour through me. And you have to learn how to get to know fear, not get rid of it. We all have a lot of fear, but, you know, false evidence appearing as real, FEAR, it is the most powerful thing you can do to get to know your fears rather than try to get rid of them or manage them. And slowly and surely they lose their power over you.
So you have arrived as a true allower.
That's my new title, a true allower. And it's like Stephen Levine said, this is the work of a lifetime.
Yes.
And and let's not have people go, oh my God, I could only do this when I'm 80. It's just like when the light comes in the morning. It just doesn't pop up. It gradually comes. And then there is the full light of the day. Yeah. I was going to say we're all going to remember and forget. I don't really forget, maybe little moments. If you really challenge me, I'll go back into the struggle, but not for very long.
Yes.
And then it opens, and then I'm here with what is.
I love what Abraham says. This is one of my favorite things. She says, you never get it wrong, you never get it done.
Absolutely. There's no getting it together. At the end of my first book, Belonging to Life, I put this quote, Zen quote, freedom comes when you're without anxiety about non-perfection. That's so good.
That's almost as good as the title of your new book. What's in the way is
the way. We can.
I love that title. That title is enough. You don't even have to read the freaking book.
Yeah. No, you don't. Live the title, and it is. I am here to say, and I think I have a right to say this because I was more lost than most people. Yes. I was lost in a kind of darkness that most people don't ever survive. Mm-hmm. And I am here to say that life is trustable. It's not always likable, but it's always trustable. It knows what it's doing, and it's giving you the exact set of experiences that you need in order to discover two things. This moment, where it's all happening, right. Or how to see all the struggles you took on that keep you separate from this moment.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Anyway, I just want to encourage everybody to go and find Mary's book, What's in the Way is the Way. It's great. And I'm also fascinated by the gift that you're giving away to our tribe. I personally can't wait to get my hands on it. It's called The Gift of Our Compulsions. And it's an audio overview of Mary's revolutionary approach that uses a unique process of questions to help people cultivate compassionate curiosity, leading to true freedom and lasting healing. Cultivate compassionate curiosity. Come on.
Right.
You gotta love that.
Yeah, and it understands.
So tell us how people can really use this. Best use the gift.
Yeah. Well, our core compulsion is to struggle.
Right.
And all the other compulsions, whether it's biting your fingernail or heroin or eating or drinking or busyness, it's one of our favorite. Or screen time. All of those are an attempt to numb out from the heartache that your main relationship with life is struggle. It's not this passionate connection, this joy of being alive. So this CD is an invitation of how this work invites you to really do what we've been talking about today, how to see with great heart your addiction to struggle so that you can come back to life and let it live itself through you.
Beautiful. And that's just a great way to take away something from the talk that we have today, and you can have it in your own hands. So everybody, you can get Mary's Gift of Our Compulsions in a link right below the video. Mary, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. You're just like an extraordinary being and just heartfelt human. I just am so grateful and learned a lot again. Just being in your presence fills me up. That's all I got to tell you.
I'm so glad. And it's like I say at the end of every meditation, help me to see clearly how I am still separate from life so that all beings can know the joy of being fully alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, our job when we come to this planet is to ignite our one-of-a-kindness and light up the world. So just relax, breathe, and unleash your spectacular creative genius and give the world your special brand of uniqueification.
Yes. Yeah. We need you.
We do need you. Please, there's so much more wisdom, strategy, and insights coming up in our next episode. So please, we'll see you there. Bye, everybody.
Namaste.